and I think President Trump, with the energy agenda he's planning, I mean, we got to get back to fossil fuels. So if I'm on the Corporation Commission, when that happens, we're going to tell, and we want to work with the utilities. You want the utilities to be successsul.
Sure.
We don't want to shut down the utilities. Right. It's not us against them.
It's got to be a win-win for everybody.
It's got to be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
But the Corporation Commissioners need to make sure that we're on a better track, and they have to come back with a better plan that's more realistic, that can actually generate the power we need at an affordable price for the citizens.
Welcome to Save Mesa Podcast. We're diving deep into what the City Council and the School Board are planning, proposing, and pushing, because transparency matters. We want to keep you informed about the decisions impacting your city to help you defend Mesa's values, protect our freedoms, and hold local leaders accountable. Join us as we help keep Mesa a safe and family-oriented community. Welcome to the Save Mesa Podcast. Today we have Dr. Ralph Heap, current representative from Legislative District 10, a House representative for Arizona, representing us here in the East Valley. And we're going to get to know a little bit about Dr. Ralph Heap, his upbringing here in Arizona, his practice in orthopedics. We're going to find out some of his experience working and representing those of us in Legislative District 10 down at the Capitol. And then the announcement that was made here, I think this summer, going and running for Corporation Commission. Welcome, Dr. Ralph Heap. Thank you for coming on the Save Mesa podcast.
Hey, Alex, thanks. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the chance to be here and explain a little bit about myself and what I've been doing. And as you stated, I'm a retired orthopedic surgeon, practiced for 40 years here in the East Valley. I'm actually a fourth-generation Arizonan. I was born in St. John's, if you know where that is. That's about 40 miles from Pine Top in northern Arizona. And I was actually raised down here in the valley in what used to be a farm town, small farm town. It's now Scottsdale. Back in those days, there were a couple of paved streets and a lot of farms, but a little different now. But that's where I was raised, and I went to medical school down at the University of Arizona, so I'm kind of an Arizona guy, and then came back to the valley to practice. And again, did that for 40 years, mostly just general orthopedics, a lot of joint replacements, that sort of thing. So
a lot of knees.
A lot of knees, a few thousand knees. so that's been great. And, we did a lot of great things, during my years in practice. We were involved in multiple charities and did a lot of overseas work.
Yeah, if you can expand a little bit on that. I've heard, but nothing necessarily specific.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
We were, right out of medical school. My last year, I did a 3-month rotation, which I got to pick in Papua New Guinea, which is in the middle of nowhere, just an island above Australia. And that was probably the most primitive place in the world at the time. And part of the time we lived back in the huts with the people and the lice and the other.
Were there mosquitoes?
Yeah, a lot of
I hate mosquitoes.
Bugs and creatures you wouldn't really like. But it was just above Stone Age, so minimal. We had some electricity at the little hospital I was working at. It was a Nazarene hospital, actually. But a lot of times we were just out in the villages and stuff and just kind of doing general medical care. So, in fact, I may be the only doctor in the state that's treated hatchet wounds to the head and spear wounds to the chest.
So my goodness.
The people kind of fight there a little bit. So,
okay, all right.
So that was kind of the first experience I had, and then we just made that a regular part of our. My wife's a nurse, and so we made that a regular part of our lives. And pretty much every year we'd do a medical mission somewhere. Mostly we went to Nicaragua and Bolivia.
Okay.
Which
how's your Spanish?
Again, I could understand it pretty well, but
okay.
I wish I spoke it better.
Okay.
But,
yeah.
But we usually took along. I had a surgical assistant took with me that was actually from Mexico. He was an MD in Mexico, but in the United States he was working as a surgical assist, and so he went with me usually, and so that was helpful. So great guy.
So all those experiences, and then all that volunteer work, your practice, you did run for. I think it was for the Senate seat.
State Senate, about 10 years ago.
10 years ago,
for
okay.
The State Senate. And,
was it 2014-ish, around there?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was a very high-profile, contentious campaign. You'd have to know the history here in Mesa to
we don't need to get into all of it, but yeah.
But that was an introduction to politics for me, and really being a physician at some point when I got close to retirement, I think a lot of us, you feel like you want to give back a little bit. I love the country, and you hate to see it kind of change directions in ways you don't like. And I think that was part of the genesis of me just running back then, and then again running for the House seat in LD10.
Well, you were so a couple of years back. There was a little bit of a change here in Legislative District 10. I think Justin Heap was running for county recorder, so the district was looking for somebody that could possibly step in, and I think you were kind of hooked back in and convinced to run and eventually represent Legislative District 10.
Yeah, that's correct. My son Justin was the representative, and he was contemplating running for county recorder, and so he called me and. He said, "Dad, we need to get together." And I said, "Well, that's great." And I assumed that he was going to get my sage advice on running for the county recorder. When he got there, that really wasn't the plan. He said, a lot of us think that you'd be a really good House member from representing LD10. And so that was kind of what, and he's correct. I really did want to serve.
My understand. Well, my perspective would be somebody that was a doctor and practicing for 40 years, seeing the changes that happen with medicine, with insurance, with the federalization, the centralization of that. I'm assuming some of that was part of the motivation of saying, hey, well, maybe I can help and assist, at least especially on the medical side. Did that play a part?
Definitely played a part. And, the state budget, I mean, there's only a couple of things that really eat up the state budget: education and medical care. I mean, that is the state budget.
Those two. And
there are a lot of changes in the medical field going on right now, and a lot of them are for the negative. And so one of our previous representatives, Barbara Parker, it was an RN, and I talked to her extensively about that. And as it turned out, I was the only physician really in the legislature. And so, it was, I think, really instructive and helpful to other members in the legislature just to have somebody that has a better perspective on, what the heck goes on in medicine, because most people don't really have any idea of some of the changes that are really happening.
I think the bigger it gets, the more complicated it gets, and the more expensive it gets.
And you don't just have the state budget involved, but you've got to deal with the federal government and all the input with Medicaid and these issues. So it's a very complex system right now of health care.
So you're this is the first full term, correct?
Correct.
And anything you can share with us as far as being a freshman representative down there? What would you say were like the most positive, and then the most, maybe not the details about the most negative, but what is it that you liked, and what was the part that you were like, oh, I got to deal with this?
Well, I did enjoy just seeing how legislation is made and how some of the problems really occur. In other words, people are putting forth legislation, particularly in the medical field, and they don't always really understand even what the end result of that particular legislation is going to be. They just don't have the perspective. So I think
presenting it, meaning somebody else wrote it and then they get a representative to run it. Maybe the representative that's running it doesn't know necessarily the nitty-gritty. Is that what you're saying? Or
That's a good percentage of the bills that come through the legislature, written by lobbyists of some sort, who then, seek out and find a legislator that's willing to run that. And that's not always true. There's good legislators that really understand, and there's good lobbyists that really are beneficial, I think, to the legislatures. But commonly, particularly in the medical field, the legislator doesn't really have much background in medicine, and they're running bills that have very wide-ranging impact.
yeah.
And
Unintended consequences.
Unintended consequences. In fact, a good portion of the bills that we pass any given year are correcting problems from bills that were passed the previous session or sessions before that had ramifications that just weren't apparent.
And that
when
makes
they ran
sense.
the
I mean,
bill.
it's like you don't see how the market or the industry or that department is going to operate until like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There was this motivation over here that we didn't foresee. Let's go back and fix that. I can see that.
And it was, I think it was enjoyable just talking to the other legislators, and sometimes you can point out, hey, here's a major problem with this bill. I had one, for example, the legislator that was running the bill, it sounded like a good idea. It was helping postpartum women, giving them information about the depression and, what their options were to treat that and how they could get help. Sounds like a good idea.
It always sounds good.
Sounds good. The problem was that part of the legislation stated that that not only were they going to get the instructions, but they also were going to be allowed to take whatever drugs were available for postpartum depression. And that was something that the state would pay for, would cover.
Huh.
Sounds good still so far. The problem is there's only one company that makes any drug that's actually approved for postpartum depression. And that drug costs, the initial dose is $15,000. Well, the lobbyist that was involved was also the lobbyist for the drug company. And so you have potentially thousands and thousands of patients at $15,000 per patient that are going to be approved for Medicaid to an access to get this benefit. It's hundreds of millions of dollars. And the legislator, I went and talked to her, she really had no idea about the cost of the drug, the fact that the lobbyist was also working for the drug company. And so we were able to take that part out. Now the patients just get the information about postpartum depression so they can get some help, but we didn't approve the new drug that would have broken the whole system really in terms of expenses. So and there were several more like that.
So let's just say something like that happens round one. You pull out the financial subsidy that the government is going to cover, but that legislation now has foot in the door for postpartum.
Correct.
I'm just thinking out of the box here. Do you see another bill coming in next session that kind of piggybacks on what was already passed to say, and try to get that back in? I'm just trying to think strategically if I'm trying to get something.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
And we had a similar situation with Ozempic, where a bill that was passed is going to open the door for another bill down the road to get coverage for Ozempic, for
So they know what they're doing.
So they know what they're doing. It's a plan.
Yeah. Well, so you're now at the end of your freshman term, and the session is over. The budget's passed, sine die, all this stuff. And right before that happened, you had made an announcement that you're now looking to, or that you will be running and that you are running. Is that correct?
Correct.
For Corporation Commission.
Correct.
Can you walk us through just a little bit of kind of the thought process of what happened that went from Arizona House Representative to, you know what, there's something else that I need to or want to do?
Well, one thing you learn when you're a new legislator is that there's a hierarchy in the legislature, and the power is held by actually very few people. So, for example, the Speaker of the House determines who are going to be the chairman of the various committees. The chairman and the Speaker pretty much control what legislation is even allowed to be heard, what comes before the committee, what gets voted on. So that's a frustration. So as a new member, you don't have quite as much power to really affect the system as you kind of had thought you were.
You're the freshman.
Because you're a freshman.
New kid on the block.
And so you really need to be able to commit yourself to a number of terms, I think, to where you can build up seniority to get to one of these chairmanship positions where you can have as much effect as you want to. That doesn't mean a new legislator can't have some effect. You can, and your voice can be heard, and you can get around and discuss with other legislators, but you don't really have the ultimate say.
Sure.
And so that's a little bit discouraging. I was on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, which I really did enjoy, and I've always been interested in that. And we had several bills come up that I think would have been very beneficial, and we did pass a couple, but these energy issues are really important. And, one thing I learned in the third world, and energy is really related to prosperity and how we all live. So areas that lack energy,
no electricity in Arizona, no air conditioning. People are moving to Arizona.
Unlivable.
Yeah. Same thing for Las Vegas, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have energy, you don't have. So yeah.
Well, and one common theme throughout the third world is they don't have access to affordable, reliable energy. They just don't. And so, and in this case, the fossil fuel industry has brought billions of people out of poverty. What you learn now, though, is there's an attack proceeding now against fossil fuels and against affordable, reliable energy with this green energy agenda. And so I was well aware of that and had a lot of ideas of things we could have done to improve the situation, but a lot of that just doesn't get through the committee. It isn't heard by the committee chairperson, and so you're very limited. So that was kind of the genesis, and I was approached by several groups, including Free Enterprise Club, Turning Point, Charlie Kirk, and even people from the Trump administration about possibly, running for the Corporation Commission. And one thing about the corporation, people say, well, running for the Corporation Commission, when I tell somebody, they give you that kind of blank stare.
Like, what is that?
What is that? Nobody knows what the commission does. Almost nobody knows who the commissioners are, but it really is a critical area. And so, I felt like I can have more effect there, and it's something I'm really interested in, than I could, slowly building up.
How many on the board?
There's 5 people on the board.
Okay.
And unfortunately, all 5 are Republicans, so you wouldn't think we would have the problem that we're currently involved in. But it is a problem. In Arizona...
Well, I think Mayor Giles is a Republican.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Not to put him in with that group, but...
Well, but
so is Romney, and so anyway, we could go down that route.
The Corporation Commission, the utilities in Arizona are monopolies. So pretty much they can do what they want. And the only protection that the ratepayers have, that's us, is with the Corporation Commissioners. Their job is to work with the utilities, but basically advocate for the ratepayers. And
meaning protect us.
Protect us, the citizens of the state.
Now, a few years ago, I think it was under former Governor Ducey, that the energy companies were able to have basically a monopoly. There's no more competition allowed to come into the market. Is there?
Our system, the way it's set up, does not really allow for competition. I mean, these really are truly monopolies, and you, for example, couldn't go out and say, gosh, I've got this energy company over here and they can give me energy for half the price. No, that can't happen in Arizona. I think we're Salt River Project here. Is that your carrier, Salt River Project? Or
here at SRP?
Yeah, SRP. So it's a pretty much closed system. And
so there's 5 on the board.
There's 5 on the board.
But you said all 5 are registered Republicans.
All 5 are registered Republicans. Here's the problem. And if you ask the corporation commissioners we have now, they will even tell you the green agenda is dead. We're not going to do the green agenda because with Trump in, that's not very popular right now. Here's the problem. They haven't told the utilities yet that that's what they're going to do. In other words, the utilities are going straight ahead with what they call a net zero green agenda. So what they want to do and what they're proposing and what they've publicly announced is that by 2050 they want to be carbon free. So that here in Arizona. So
who announced that?
That's all the utilities.
Oh, utilities. Okay.
The utilities. Okay. So APS in 2020 came out and said we're going net zero. We're adopting the green agenda. We're going to get rid of our coal plants first and natural gas after that, and they're going net zero. That's their plan.
Sounds like California.
It sounds exactly like California.
There's this also a UN thing. Sounds like a UN thing.
Well, it's a worldwide movement, and but it really doesn't make any sense because the question is...
Makes 0 sense.
The commissioners...
Pun intended, 0 cents.
Well, and the commissioners, their job is to make sure energy is affordable and reliable. Well, the green agenda is neither affordable nor reliable. And you say, well, how can you say that? I mean, if you ask somebody that proposes the green agenda, they'll tell you, oh, no, that's not the case. But all we have to do is just look worldwide and find out, what's actually happening in places that have adopted the green agenda.
Well, if I may interrupt, when we were still in Yugoslavia, ex-Yugoslavia, I remember during the winter times, the electricity going out, there was no heat. We would have to go to neighbors' homes that had fire, and they would burn wood, which is like the filthiest thing that you can burn for the air, but they would burn wood to heat themselves, and they would allow us to come into their homes so we wouldn't freeze either. Rolling blackouts. And then when we lived in California, you think in California, the 5th largest economy in the world, this one state, the 5th largest, rolling brownouts. You're thinking in America, in the U.S., in California, you got to, and then you look at, okay, so if Arizona, if things don't change.
Well, and you can look across the country. So the states that have more than 50% of their energy from green energy sources pay 36.4% more for electricity than states that don't. Europe, you mentioned Europe, Yugoslavia.
Well, they didn't have the solar and stuff back then, or the wind, but current Europe.
But current Europe is going to be back to burning wood here pretty quick, I'm afraid, going. So the average European pays between 2 and 3 times what we pay for energy.
But so their houses are so small. They don't need more energy. They live in the size of a box in those stack and packs like they're building around here.
And still they're getting rolling blackouts and brownouts and how about Spain and Portugal? So what was it on 4/16/25, Spain announced, they were so happy, we are 100% green. We generated all our power from wind and solar, and they were so happy.
And then?
On 4/28, the whole system collapsed. They didn't have anything for 3 days. And let me tell you what, if in Arizona we get 3 days of no electricity in July.
Oh, forget it.
I mean, I don't know what we're going to do, but a lot of people will suffer seriously. I mean, there'll be deaths from something like that. So So that's the direction we're going in. And now that President Trump is in place, you think that our utilities would be interested in the Trump energy agenda. That's not the case. Their most latest proxy release, basically their plan, what they're doing, APS just released last month, is unchanged. They're still on the energy agenda, the green energy agenda. In 2023, APS put out their integrated research plan. Well, in other words, a 15-year plan of what they were going to do. And basically, it's what we've been talking about, going totally into the net zero green energy agenda. That plan was adopted by our corporation commissioners with no second opinion, no independent research. They just rubber stamped APS's plan for net zero in 2023.
2023.
2023. So our current commissioners, this would be Nick Myers, Kevin Thompson, were on the board at that time, and they put their seal of approval on that. The Free Enterprise Club then hired an independent, nationally known group to come in and analyze APS's plan to see if it really was going to be affordable and reliable like they said it was going to be. And the independent analysis came back and said, no, there's going to be a high risk of blackouts and brownouts, and the cost to the ratepayers would be over and above what would be the cheapest plan, which would have been fossil fuels, was going to be by 2038, $42.7 billion. That's what the ratepayers are going to pay with this plan that was rubber stamped by our current corporation commissioners. So we can expect, and now what's happening? Well, what's the latest request from APS? 14% rate increase. That means that with that increase, from the last 4 years, the increases that they would have gotten if they received that one will be 30% increased cost, increased rate. So that's not sustainable. It's not affordable. And the citizens of Arizona are going to have a difficult time, many, especially the poorest among us, are going to have a difficult time affording their electric bills. So it's a serious problem.
So if you're on the Corporation Commission, what do you foresee the next, I'd say the next decade? What is, other than if we stick with this plan, but is there something else that you're concerned about?
Well, the other concerns are, I think we all agree that some point down the road, nuclear energy would be the way to go. So we have to get, and we have these new, these modular nuclear plants that are coming for small, think about running a submarine, for example. They do that with nuclear, and they can stay underwater for years, and it's reliable. Well, these sort of smaller nuclear units are what's going to really, I think, make the difference. And the big worry we have now is with artificial intelligence, that's going to double our requirements for energy over the next 10 years. Think about that, double it. I mean, do we really believe that wind and solar can handle double our current use? I don't know if you use AI, but every time you do a search on one of these AI search engines, Grok or Perplexity or any of them, that uses 10 times the power of your normal Google search. So when they set up these data centers, these are going to suck out a significant amount of energy, and we just don't have a plan.
And we have 15 data centers here in Mesa. There's 16 in Arizona. We have 15. That's 25% are all located in Mesa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's going to be 10 times that number of data centers 10 years from now. So the energy demands are tremendous, and so we have to plan for that. So, and I think President Trump, with the energy agenda he's planning, I mean, we got to get back to fossil fuels. So if I'm on the Corporation Commission, when that happens, we're going to tell, and we want to work with the utilities. You want the utilities to be successful.
Sure.
We don't want to shut down the utilities. Right. It's not us against them.
It's got to be a win-win for everybody.
It's got to be a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
But the corporation commissioners need to to make sure that we're on a better track, and they have to come back with a better plan that's more realistic, that can actually generate the power we need at an affordable price for the citizens. So that's in here. Let me tell you another thing that really worries me with this AI. Whichever country gets control of the AI and leads in AI is going to lead for the rest of the century. There's no question about it. This is the future. And I don't think our current commissioners see that, but this is critical. And we're in a race with China right now for control of AI. And this is deadly serious. The Chinese are they're bringing online 2 new coal plants a week. They have 600 coal plants in the pipeline. They just announced that by 2035, they want to be nuclear dominant in the world, the number one nuclear power generating system in the world. So they have a plan.
And they don't have like an environmental protection agency to prevent them from doing that, do they?
They really don't. Although I've been to China, they need a little help on that. It's not the cleanest place in the world. But that's the battle we're in, and the Chinese are taking it very seriously, and we're not. So what do? They build 2 coal plants a week. They sell us solar panels. All the solar panels we get are from China. Now we find out some of them are included with kill switches in the inverters, so they can turn them off if they want to.
From China.
From China. You can't make this up. They go nuclear. They sell us wind turbines. They work on this AI. They sell us batteries. We can't keep going down this road. It's deadly serious. It really is, and we can't do it, and we can't accept second place on this.
I don't know. Maybe it's a theory, but maybe China has influence over politics and things that happen in the U.S. so that the decisions will be made for China to be able to do all these things. It's just a theory. But
there would be no background for anything to suggest that. I'm sure.
Just a theory. Almost as if that's happening. Well, who else is running for Corporation Commission?
So I have the privilege of running with Representative David Marshall. He is actually the representative from, I think, it's LD7, which is, he lives in Snowflake. So, he's a great guy, and he's already been, I think, doing a good job on some of these. He had some great legislation last year, which the governor vetoed, that would have made wind turbine production very difficult. It's hard to get this good legislation through when you have the current governor that we have.
On the wind turbines, whatever, for years now we've been hearing that once they break and once their propellers or they're murdering, some people call it birds that are killing birds, but there's no way to recycle the actual blades that cause these turbines to spin, and so like the waste disposal or the dumps, they don't know what to do with this stuff. I don't know if that's been resolved or not, but I remember hearing about that.
It's not been resolved, and it's even worse than that because the footprint for these wind turbines is huge, and so they dig down, put in concrete. They have to have oil, and they really have to have a fossil fuel plant practically connected to keep these wind turbines even running, which is interesting.
Well, I know in Texas they had the big freeze. Those things stopped spinning. Here in Mesa we have the all battery powered fire truck, but that has a diesel generator to work the pumps, the water pumps inside of it. I mean, it's almost comedic.
Yeah.
That this is supposed to solve everything, but it's creating all of these other problems, almost like legislation that you have good intentions with, and then you find out, wait a minute, we're having some unintended consequences.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just don't think wind turbines should not be used, and I think that's just not an appropriate way to generate power. totally reliant on whether the wind blows or not. You definitely have to have fossil fuel plants attached to them. They're talking about getting these, what they call peaking power plants, where they use natural gas, which they'll be able to turn on every once in a while when the wind isn't blowing and the sun's not shining. And it's a very inefficient way to do it. The plants are not good. So again, the system is really out of whack. And I really am concerned. I hate the fact they're killing the golden eagles and the bald eagles and all the birds, and there's some rare bat species. I mean, they're not good for the environment, plus they're hideous on top of it. So,
But I just want to make sure to clarify for the audience, when you're talking about going to using so-called fossil fuels, whether it's oil, natural gas, actually maybe not natural gas, fossil fuel, but coal, the new engineering, the new designs, they have clean burning coal plants, don't they?
they do. Yeah.
I mean, I just want to make sure, are you advocating to pollute the environment in exchange for energy, or are there ways to do both? To clean, to keep the environment clean, because the argument is the carbon, right? So, and it's the farting cows, and, they come up with all of these things. But my understanding, there is a way to have clean air, have a cleaner environment, and still produce reliable, affordable energy.
Yeah, even natural gas is quite clean, but even coal, with the modern scrubbers and the way that they do the coal plants, it's about 10% or less the pollution it was 20 years ago. So we're down to a fairly minimal amount of pollution, even with the coal plants. The natural gas is even cleaner. So I think that idea of polluting the environment with the old coal plant, I think that probably was somewhat true. But with the modern ways of cleaning the pollutants out, it's really fairly minimal. So I think, yes, we can definitely do it with both. And I think that's what we need to do. Because the issue is, I mean, what is worse for the environment? Here's an example. By 2040, we're going to have 2.5 billion solar panels that are not functional anymore.
They expire.
What are we going to do with 2.5 billion? So what about that pollution and all the materials that are in that? What do we do with it? What do we do with
toxic.
those?
How do you recycle it? Yeah.
You can't recycle them. The materials are toxic and leach out into the environment. That's a heck of a lot worse than the minimal pollution that we're getting from the modern coal plants and natural gas facilities.
So what do you think the answer is from these gun-ho environmental, I'll say it, extremists? They're gluing their hands on the streets. They're blocking streets. The earth is. We're already supposed to have gone through an ice age that didn't happen. We're supposed to be underwater, and we're still not underwater. I mean, the temperature is 1 point whatever something Celsius degrees higher than it was. However, I'm just like, okay, none of these things that they've predicted are happening and happen, and people forget that they were. If you're making predictions, eventually, when all of your predictions fail, and I go, well, wait a minute. You're not a reliable person. So the next time you cry wolf, I'm thinking, we're not going to listen to this person.
In 40 years, they've never made one correct prediction. Not one.
You would think that the weatherman could predict the weather, tomorrow.
Yeah.
And how often? Oh, it's going to rain tomorrow. And we're waiting. Where's the rain? Well, so...
Yeah, the weatherman can't predict tomorrow, but they're telling us they can predict 100 years from now where we're going to be. So, that's that whole climate change, and I think you brought it up, global cooling. Oh, well, wait a minute, it's getting warmer now. Global warming. Oh, wait a minute, it's not really warming. Well, it's climate change. So whichever way it goes, that way we can go. And
almost as if it's an excuse to rally a certain segment of the population to be activists, to almost cause trouble for a system that might, granted, no system's perfect, right? because we're people, we're all flawed in whatever ways we are. So we ourselves cannot make a perfect system. Yes, but can it be functional? Can it work? And so if you're on, or when you're on the Corporation Commission, what are maybe the first few things that top priority? I know you mentioned some things, but you're sworn in. What does Dr. Ralph Heap look to implement first?
I think right away, they're trying to close these coal plants without anything to substitute for the energy that we need. They just or they're trying to close the Cholla coal plant right now. President Trump actually came out and said, do not close the Cholla coal plant, and they've gone ahead and tried to do that anyway. I don't think that that's a done deal. I think we can probably get that reopened, and I'd like to start on that as one of the first issues. They've got the coal plant that is up by St. John's in Springerville. The TEP, that's Tucson Electric Power, has already announced that they're going to start shutting that down in 2027, in spite of the fact that the Trump administration has said we're not shutting down these coal plants. We want more coal plants. I think we can stop that right now. So the corporation commissioners can go to TP and say, no, that's unacceptable plan. Bring us back another plan. So if you want to do something with the coal plant, how are you going to make up for that energy in a safe, affordable, reliable way? So those would be the main issues. And then I would like to see the utilities come back with new 15-year plans that actually are based on reality and really address the affordability, reliability issues that are going to come down the pike. And I don't think they've done that yet. And the final thing, I think, I'd like to see a plan on how we're going to move to nuclear energy. Because ultimately, I think there are some environmentalists, and this tells you all you need to know, nothing is cleaner or more reliable than nuclear. But some of the same people that are environmentalists supposedly want to save the environment and will pollute the environment with wind turbines and solar panels are against nuclear energy. So I guess they're just against energy in general. So I don't know what their end goal would be, but that's the idea. And I'd like to see the utilities come up with a plan. Hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's another example. The Palo Verde nuclear plant that we have now, they have actually plans drawn and could add 3 additional units out there. Well, I think now that the reason they haven't probably in the past, I think, has just been because of the EPA and some of the restrictions they've had. But I can tell you right now, we've been talking, Representative Marshall has connections. He has a person inside the Trump administration at the White House that he's been talking to. We're going to get a delegation, and we're going to go back and meet with Zeldin and Burgum and Wright, which are the secretaries that are involved in these energy issues. And I'd like to see the rules change, and I think that's going to happen so that we can actually increase our nuclear power output in Arizona. That would solve a lot of our problems. I think we have to get from now to about 2040, when some of these advanced nuclear modules, mechanisms of generating nuclear power come online, and then I think we'll be good. But we're at a dangerous time right now. If we go green, we're going to get behind the Chinese. We're going to have a difficulty supplying the energy we need, and I just don't think we can let that happen. And that would be our goal in getting on the commission. Representative Marshall and I, is to get us on a track that'll secure the energy future for Arizona over the next 10 or 15 years.
If somebody wants to find out more about you, where can they do that?
azcc.vote would be a website you could go to, and you could learn about myself and Representative Marshall, kind of what our plans are, why we're really running. That'd be the best. And also we're going clean elections, but we could use $5 contributions. You can sign our petitions online. Any help would be appreciated.
So that was azcc.vote.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Dr. Ralph Heap, really appreciate you coming on the Save Mesa podcast today. Thank you for sharing with us your vision, a little bit about your past, how you got here, and what you want to do for us here in Arizona. For those of you that are watching, if you like this content, please like us, please share, please subscribe. With that, this is Alex. Let's save Mesa together. See you next time.